Aryna Sabalenka will be the favorite to hoist her third major singles title and first US Open when she takes on Jessica Pegula in Saturday's final. Not only does she have a better head-to-head record over the American, but she has more experience in winning majors and contesting in multiple finals. Plus, she just beat Pegula a couple of weeks ago in Cincinnati, the finals there on hard courts. But that actually might be why a Pegula Maiden Slam win is already set in stone due to a crazy coincidence involving one of Sabalenka's predecessors. Hey, my name is Christian Bassnight and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you haven't yet already, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post my women's US Open final recap / analysis. Before I get into the lore of that curse I mentioned in the title of this video, I want to set the stage for this finals matchup. Sabalenka has won 5 out of her 7 matches with Pegula, but Jessie will take solace in knowing that the head-to-head is even on hard courts at 2 apiece. Pegula's last win over the Belarusian was in the year-end championships, which she won in straight sets. Sabalenka has had the better season overall, winning the year's first major at the Australian Open, as well as that Cincinnati Open title a couple of weeks ago. But Pegula has arguably been the best player of the summer hardcourt swing, winning 15 out of her last 16 matches in a stretch that saw her defend her Canadian Open title in Toronto before finishing runner-up in Cincy. Both women have only dropped 1 set apiece en route to the championship. First, looking at Sabalenka's path to the final, her lone lost set was in the 3rd round to Ekaterina Alexandrova before utterly dominating the Russian in 2 sets. I'd argue that Sabalenka had a bit of a bigger scare in her semifinal against Emma Navarro, where she nearly fumbled a 6-3, 4-2, 40-15 lead before quieting the quite frankly disrespectful New York crowd to beat the billionaire heiress in 2 sets. Now, speaking of billionaire daughters, Pegula was in control of most of her matches in this fortnight, including a dominant 2-4 rout over world number 1 Iga Swiatek in the quarterfinals. The semifinals where things got very complicated for Pegula, with her having to dig herself out of a hole down 1-6, love 2, 30-40 before sealing the comeback win over Karolina Muchova. Now let's get into this curse that I speak of. Maybe curse is a bit of a negative word to describe this phenomenon. Yeah, that's a better way to describe it. It all points to another Belarusian former world number 1, Victoria Azarenka. This is all an 11-year parallel. In 2012, Azarenka won her first major, beating Russian-born Maria Sharapova in the final before backing it up in the following year to beat China's Li Na. Those same year, she reached the US Open Finals, finishing runner-up both times to an American, Serena Williams. Now, in 2023 and 2024, Sabalenka won her first 2 majors at the Australian Open. In 2023, she beat Russian-born Elena Rybakina, and in 2024, China's Qinwen Zhang. In 2023, Aryna also made the US Open Final, losing to an American, Coco Gauff. Now, here she is a year later, facing another American, Jessica Pegula. Pegula is also Gauff's former doubles partner, so essentially, they are one in the case of this phenomenon. Also in 2013, Azarenka beat Serena in the final of the Cincinnati Open weeks before losing to her at the US Open. And that year, Serena won the Canadian Open in Toronto. 11 years later, Sabalenka beat Toronto champion Pegula in the Cincinnati final, and now they're set for a rematch in the finals of Flushing. And then last year, Coco Gauff, who was seeded 6th, beat Karolina Muchova in the US Open semifinals before taking down Sabalenka. And who did 6th-seeded Pegula beat in the semifinals this year? Karolina Muchova. And then to add some extra elements of deja vu for Sabalenka, she was seeded 2nd in both the 2023 and 2024 US Opens and had to take down an American in the semifinals both years. Of course, I don't think we should read too much into this crazy coincidence, but it's something to keep an eye on for fun in this final and perhaps beyond if Aryna does end up losing. Surely you think Sabalenka would end up surpassing Vika's 2-slam count, but you never know. I'm sure many also didn't expect Azarenka to only end up with 2 majors after she defended her Aussie Open crown in 2013. Although Azarenka's career is not over yet, there is still time for her maybe to win that 3rd slam. Now, thinking about what Sabalenka needs to do in order to break this 11-year streak, she needs to do as best of a job as possible of keeping the crowd out of it. We all know the crowd is going to be fully behind the American Pegula, but Sabalenka can control things on her side of the net by remaining clutch and just trying to be as straightforward as possible. Just minimize the drama. I don't think that Sabalenka Sabalenka can afford a 3-set battle, and she needs to try to win this in straight sets. We saw in the final last year with Coco how Aryna did not take her chances and go up that break early in the second set, and it bit her in the behind, and it helped Gauff a lot, and it also got the crowd back into it. Muchova almost put the nail in the coffin in the semifinal yesterday, but she gave Pegula and the crowd that silver sliver of hope, and once Jessica remained close in the scoreline, it was a wrap for real. Sabalenka also needs to continue her superb serving that she's been showing us throughout the tournament. The serve has been the #1 clear weapon for Pegula in this fortnight. It's helped that she's also got a decent number of first serves in throughout, and she's averaged about 71% of first serves points won. But the second serve of Sabalenka deserves equal shine. She's been going bigger on that second serve, and it's paid off very well. The second seed has averaged 66% of second serve points won this tournament, which is incredible. The Sabalenka serve was also the biggest deciding factor in their Cincinnati final. She won 91% of her first serve points and 69% of her second. Thinking back to that Cincinnati final a couple weeks ago, it was primarily big first strike tennis, not many long rallies at all, which aids Sabalenka, and she needs to make sure she continues playing that way in this final. Sabalenka's shot tolerance has improved, but you'd still favor Pegula in the longer rallies, and I feel especially remembering her quarterfinal win against Swiatek, where she just extracts airs from the pole due to her hustle and patience. Sabalenka needs to try and close out the points early. She can do this from, the mix of variety, the drop shots, and also coming forward to the net. Her volleys are very good too and underrated. And then bottom line, Sabalenka needs to serve well enough to set herself up for easier or shorter points. Same thing with returning, really. Conversely, with Pegula, of course, she needs to try to extend points and hang in there with Sabalenka as much as possible. JPEG is interesting because she's a solid ball striker and has the power and depth to make Sabalenka uncomfortable. I think she definitely needs to do that. But she needs to find that perfect balance of aggression and consistency. She struggled a lot with that early on versus Muchova in their semifinal. The second point, which is also very big, is keeping and maintaining good scoreboard pressure against Aryna. This includes holding serve just as much as possible. As soon as you have a game point, you got to take it. As soon as you have a 30-love lead, 15-love lead even, you have to take your chances, because Sabalenka, once she gets a hold of you, sometimes she won't let go until it comes down to serve for the match, and then she'll crumble a little bit. But anyways, I think that Pegula needs to focus on controlling things on her side of the net, and the main thing is like her serve and making sure she maintains a high first serve percentage and gets routine or relatively routine holds whenever possible. Pegula also needs to be mindful of remaining active and consistently challenging Sabalenka in her return games. It's okay if she doesn't break every time. Of course, she's not going to break every time or break most of the times. But I think that if she can maintain good pressure and make Sabalenka kind of question, like, dang, I'm really having to work to try to hold serve, that can really do something to the Belarusian mentally, I think. Bottom line, Sabalenka plays the best when she has a bit of a cushion, but if things get tight, she gets tight too. Another way of applying pressure to Sabalenka is stepping up and attacking that second serve. Navarra actually did a great job of this in her semifinal, and it helped her fight back and level up things and even get the edge in the second set. JPEG needs to do this throughout, and she has the potential to do that, as she did it consistently in her quarterfinal against Iga. Looking at the intangibles and the possible big deciding factors, first is Pegula's first time in a slam final and the nerves that will potentially come with that. We saw some nerves from her earlier in the start in the Muchova semifinal, and just trying to win your first major is not easy at all. Jessie might be tired too from all the tennis that she has played, but I do think Pegula being able to battle back from the brink of defeat in that Muchova semifinal will help her tremendously, and maybe it'll make her feel like she's playing with house money here. On the same note, Sabalenka will have the experience edge in having played 3 slam finals prior to this one. She's been there and done that, and she was literally in the US Open final last year. I don't think the factor of her being somewhat of a favorite will be too notable here, because she was a much bigger favorite in that final against Zhang in the Australian Open, and she passed that test with flying colors. Arguably the biggest factor, though, or the biggest intangible, will be the Pegula crowd support that she'll expect to receive. Pegula will be the overwhelming crowd favorite here in this final, and I could see it being similar to the final from last year in terms of the crowd being so loud and boisterous for Jessie. But I really do think that the Navarro semifinal helped Sabalenka a lot. It's honestly good that she didn't close that match out 6-3, 6-2 like she probably should have, because her being able to face that adversity and face the music from the New York crowd, I think will help her so much, because the crowd was honestly obnoxious in Navarro's favor. They were applauding Sabalenka's double faults, any little error or mistake, they were applauding, and Sabalenka could have easily faded away, especially when Navarro reeled off 3 consecutive games and came within 2 points from taking the second set. But what did she do? She hit an ace on deuce or 30-all, either one of those points, and she served her way out of trouble. And then I think she lost the first 2 points of the tiebreaker, and the crowd really started to feel, oh, Navarro's going to win the second set. We're going to go to the distance. But Sabalenka completely shut them out and won the last 7 points of the match. That, to me, demonstrated her mental strength, her improved mental fortitude. And I think that having that under her belt, both the experience of that semifinal and last year's heartbreaking final and dealing with the crowd there, will help her handle this situation better here. And thus, I have to believe that she will get that U.S. Open title. So my pick is Sabalenka in relatively 2 tight sets by a score of, I'll say, 6-3, 7-5. Do you agree with me having Sabalenka reverse the curse and take home her 3rd major singles title? Or will Pegula replicate her former doubles partner Gauff and add her name to the list of Maiden Slam champions? Leave your thoughts and your own picks and predictions in the comment section below. And also, again, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified not only when I post my women's final recap, but also my men's final preview. Thank you all so much for watching and for your support, and I'll see y'all next time here on Christian's Court.